Good morning, everybody. Semi-Retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and miscellaneous odds and ends. Today, we're going to talk about the worst diet advice, in my opinion, in the history of the world. I've talked about this before, but I'm going to go over it again because I always have new subscribers. First, if you're new to the channel, let me say welcome. I'm glad you're here. You may be thinking to yourself, Bob, what in the world am I watching here? Well, you're basically watching me walk. I know this doesn't seem super exciting, but if you consider about a year ago, I couldn't do this. I could barely stand for 2 to 2.5 minutes without severe pain. And now I'm out here walking most days. I don't walk every day anymore because I go over to the Y and I walk in chest deep water as hard as I can twice a week. And I also go over and work out on the cable machine to try and strengthen my shoulders, and I do that a couple times a week. I'm doing all my own yard work. So I don't walk every day anymore. I do try to take a little short walk in the evening after I eat. But these days where I'm out here walking, making my videos, are more of a rest day for me than anything else. Because this little short walk up to the corner and back, which, used to be, well, I couldn't even get this, I couldn't get that weight, I couldn't get that far at all. Sorry about that little stumble there. But really the whole point of this channel is to show you that it's never too late to change your life. For those of you returning to the channel, welcome back. I'm glad you're here as well. I can't ever say thank you enough for tuning in to watch my videos. And before I get started on the worst diet advice ever, let me say Happy Memorial Day. For those of you who don't know, here in the States we have 3 military holidays. Armed Forces Day is the day we celebrate everybody that's currently in the military. That's not today. Veterans Day is the day we celebrate everybody who has served in the military, like me. That's not today either. Today is Memorial Day. I feel like I'm back in North Carolina. There's a plane going overhead. Let's let that get downrange just a little bit so it's not quite so loud. There we go. Memorial Day is the day we celebrate all of our soldiers who never came home. So try to remember that when you're out there today, having your grill outs and your hamburgers, your hot dogs, or your whatever it is you're doing, getting an extra day at the beach. You get a day off. Sorry, I get just a hair emotional when I think about it. But anyway, let's get on to the topic of the day. You've been told for the last 25 years the best way to eat is to have 3 solid meals a day and 3 snacks in between. And when they say solid meal, I mean well balanced, cover your plate with, fruits and vegetables and whole grains, and maybe a little bit of meat or cheese. But whatever it is, the whole point of this is that they're giving you the advice to eat basically 6 times a day. 3 meals, 3 snacks. And the theory behind this, and this isn't just, something I've read somewhere. This is the same advice I got from the so-called nutrition expert at my doctor's office when I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. The theory behind this is that, you spread out your calories. Calories, yeah, right. But you spread your food out into a long, slow, steady amount so that you never have the big spikes of your blood sugar. And it stays nice and level all day. And this sounds really good in theory, unless you actually understand the way the body works. Well, what happens when you eat, depending on what you're eating, carbs create the biggest insulin response, and then protein creates a little insulin response, and fat almost no insulin response. So when you eat, your insulin comes up, and we're going to come to this big tree here, and we're going to turn around and go back. It's a beautiful day, and you can see the big main street behind me is mostly empty because it's a holiday, nobody's out working yet, and it's still pretty early in the morning here. But anyway, so you eat, your insulin comes up a little bit. About time you're done with breakfast, you go to work, get a couple hours in, and your breakfast is just about digested, and your insulin just starts to creep back down, and you have a snack, pushing your insulin back up. And then just as you're about done with that snack, your body's done with that snack, it's time to eat some lunch. And you do this all day long. This keeps your insulin levels, even though they're not super high, it keeps them elevated all day long. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I don't understand the science behind it all. But the man who does understand it, Dr. Ben Bickman, a researcher from Brigham Young University, just, one of those small schools out west nobody's ever heard of, he will explain to you that insulin is the body's primary hormone as far as digestion and fat storage go. I know it does a lot of other stuff. You don't have to go down in the comments and tell me that it does a lot of other stuff. I know that. But for the purpose of today's discussion, we're going to talk about how it is the signal for either fat storage or fat oxidation. In order to oxidize fat, now of course, there are varying levels of this. We're always oxidizing some fat. But primarily, it's almost impossible to oxidize fat off of our body when our insulin levels are elevated. So you can go out there and ride your stationary bike or do whatever exercises you want to do for hours on end. If you continue to eat all day long, your insulin level is up, putting your body in storage mode. So while yes, you can get some fat loss. That's how the people that believe calories in, calories out, they believe in that because they've seen it sort of work for them. But the amount of exercise they're putting in is huge. They have to really, really push themselves all day. Well, you've been watching me walk. I wouldn't consider this pushing myself at all anymore. Used to be, but not anymore. You can go back and watch even just as recently as, when I started walking back September the 1st. There's a playlist on my channel. I'll link that at the end of this video. But there is, you cannot consider this heavy exercise. This is just walking. And I got somebody coming at me here up the block. She's walking a lot harder than I am. So I'm just going to step off into the grass here and let her go on by so that the old guy doesn't get in her way. But you cannot out-exercise a bad diet. Morning. You just can't. Which is why I personally eat one meal a day, occasionally two now that I've been working 2 shifts at the miniature golf course. I've been taking a little bit of something with me because I have not given in to the temptation of the candy bar rack. But at the end of the evening, when I'm getting tired and I'm ready to go home, it's really hard not to spend that last hour of the shift staring at that candy bar rack. So having some meat cookies, which are hamburgers, or some pork rinds or some boiled eggs or something with me. I'm not much of a snacky person normally, but I've been taking snacks with me to work at night. Because that last hour to an hour and a half when things are slowing down and you're just waiting for people to finish their games and go home, it gets kind of tough. But that's why I primarily eat once a day. Because when your insulin level comes back down to baseline, that's where the magic happens. When your insulin levels are low or normal, your body is then more inclined to oxidize the fat. And that's where, like I said, that's where the magic happens. I feel like I might not have done a great job of explaining this today, so if you have any questions, leave them down in the comments. I'll cover it again in another video at some point. Well, most of you have a day off. I don't have to work at the miniature golf course or anything today, but today is a sort of a work day for me. I had forgotten that it was this year. I'm going to turn the camera up so you can see it here. This is my driveway. As you can see, the concrete looks fairly new. And it is. But every other year they come in, I don't get charged a whole lot for it. It's part of the maintenance package that I bought. I'm not sure if I got sold a bill of goods or not, but I don't know anything about concrete. But tomorrow they come in to clean the driveway, and then on Wednesday they'll reseal all the concrete and reseal all the cracks and everything to make sure everything's in good shape for another couple of years. I think they do it every other year. It might be every 3 years. But they're coming in on Tuesday, which means this beast parked in the driveway behind me, I have to hook it up and park it out on the street because you can't be on the driveway. I'll be able to put everything back where it goes on Thursday. So later on this afternoon, I'm going to have to hook up and get the trailer out of here. And over here on the side, I've got, this is my bin, my fenced off area where I keep my trash bins. And I normally get the empties and wheel them along the sidewalk all the way up to the front door, so I can throw all the trash in one bin, all the recyclables in another bin, and then take them out to the curb. Well, I can't pull anything across the driveway. So even though it's a holiday, trash is normally Tuesday, but it's going to be on Wednesday this week. But I think tonight, after I pull the trailer out onto the street, I'm going to go ahead and load up the trash and the recyclables and then put them back in the fenced off area so that Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, I can just drag them down to the curb without getting them on the driveway. Yeah, I know, it's a tough life, but somebody's got to live it. But that's what I've got for you today, folks. Let me get that back out of the sun there so you're not getting blinded. I hope you enjoyed this quick little walking video. Don't forget, get out there, be 1% better today, tomorrow, every day. Have a great day, folks. I'll see you in the next one.